everyone, it's your girl Janell Jones, and I'm here again with another episode of Empowerment TV. You know, on Empowerment TV, we have amazing women come on just to share their true authenticity and where they come from. I have many guests coming from all over the place to come and encourage you, to share with you their story, to inspire you and transform you. You know, Empowerment TV is all about authenticity, power, and purpose. So I am excited to have with me an amazing author. Let me tell you, I just know she's going to be going places, like you're going to be seeing her on movie screens. I just know it is. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk to Ella D. Lee. She's also known as LD Lee. So if you're looking for her on the books like Amazon or this world, Barnes and Noble, you will know her as LD Lee, okay? But this young woman has a dynamic story. And when I listen to her story, it lets me know that if she can do it and she's producing and being this creative at this young age, no one has excuses, okay? So I'm going to tell you more about Ella, and then we're going to get into really talking about from hardship to bestseller, and we're going to get into learning Ella's inspiration journey to self-expression through writing. Ella D. Lee, an imaginative spirit hailing from Ohio, transformed from a mysterious to a self-published author. She embarked on her writing journal with Shadowfire Duology, exploring the captivity realms of fantasy romance. Each year, this is the exciting part, Ella unveils the Frosted Face series, a cherished project brimming with delightful tales. Her inaugural completed series, the Oakwood Thorn Trilogy, holds a special place in her literary endeavors. Ella is committed to delivering at least 2 books. Listen, 2 books annually, showcasing her dedicated to the craft. With a passion for exploring new horizons, she ventures into standalone novels in diverse genres, weaving fantasy stories that continue to captivate her growing audience. So I know that we talked about her doing, and I know we're going to get more into this. We talked about her doing 2 books a year. But when I tell you these books are no joke, like her creativity is so unmatched, and I really just appreciate you being here. So welcome, Ella. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Janelle.
Yes, I'm excited. So we're going to get into it. So I want you to really tell the audience more about you, and then we'll get into your story and your creativity.
Okay. Excuse me. I just turned 23 last year, and at this rate, I have 6 books published myself. It was a struggle for me to actually go ahead and publish the books. It was like my biggest dream coming out of college that I wanted to be an author, and it was a hard journey. I'd given up really a lot of times on it, on publishing, on trying to find those steps on it. And then when I started really pushing myself and writing, I unveiled that I love it. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do. And like I said, I've published 6 books now because of it all. And I'm really proud of myself for pushing myself to be that, you know?
Yes. I think what's astonishing to me is just your journey and your story. I know that personally knowing you, I know that you've not had an easy road, not had like a silver spoon in your mouth. So one of the things I want you to share with the audience is like talking about your upbringing, as much detail as you want to, and just how difficult that was. You know, you faced trauma, you faced loneliness, you faced many struggles, but how were you able to tap into your own power and your strength to push forward despite the odds?
So I grew up with an immediate family member that struggled with narcissism as well as bipolar and emotional manipulation tactics that ended up getting kind of shoved onto me and my sisters growing up. And so when my parents got divorced around the age of 10, I kind of felt like I was forced to grow up and mature faster because on each of my family sides, we only have 1 parent instead of 2. So I felt like I had that space to fill for my younger sisters and kind of step up and be that 3rd parent for them. And within that kind of maturing mindset, my mind started like pulling me into my fantasy worlds. And growing up with my dad, he would always read to me. Every single night, he'd pull out a book like Sisters Grimm, Tale of Despereaux, the Peter and the Starcatchers, he would always read to me a chapter every single night, and it encouraged my mind to start being very imaginative and creative and all of that. And so when I was facing hardships in my childhood, in my teenage years, you know, toxic relationships, friendships failing, all of that sort, loneliness and depression, I kind of would disappear into my headspace, into my fantasy worlds that I would create for myself to make life just a little bit easier and better.
So this is why this episode is very important. I love it because you tap into mental health. And I love it because to me, you're showcasing, yes, you may have these issues, like you've dealt with trauma, you dealt with depression, and that produced some loneliness and all these things, but you use that. And unbeknown to you, you know, as a world of escaping, right? As a way to get away from the trauma, the noise, and all of those things. And this is why I think it's important, because you were able to create a legacy based off something that really wasn't good ground. But you took that thing and then you were able to produce and mass produce. Because let me tell y'all, you see her bookshelf. I want her to show y'all just how much she produces. It is so, I'm telling you, it like she's unmatched. I really believe that. So I want her to show, we're gonna get to it. She's gonna show you just how much it is. And she took that thing. This is the beauty of it. She took those things that meant to hurt her, right? Or tried to destroy her. She took those things and used the very thing that gave her solace, that gave her peace, in order for her to produce massively. This is a way you turn your creativity around and use it for your good. So I really appreciate just where you are and you being open. Now for you, we're gonna get more into your work because I think it's so important. So you just published your 6th book, right?
Yes, I did.
23.
I know.
Listen here.
I told you I would never write more than one series. Now I just published the first book in my 3rd series. So
And let's go back to that. So when we first met, she talked about, you know what, this is going to be it, right? I'm not doing it. You know, I just want to get this project out and I'm done. That was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? When was that?
it had to be 2021, I feel like.
Okay. So almost 4 years ago, she's like, this is it, you know, I'm only doing this. And then she's working on she has published, because I know she's not working on, she has like more in a pipeline. She has published 6 books. Now, Ella, for the sake of the views, can you just show us a few of the books? Because I want y'all to know just how amazing. Go ahead.
This is the one I just published here, my Prince of Raven series. And I love this. Is my 2nd favorite series I published. It has such a special place in my heart for it. Very fairy vibes, romantic. My readers described it as very old English and Shakespearean with the romance language in it. I've got my absolute favorite series here, which is this one. And this one I just published. This one has 3 out at the moment. Let me grab those. So it's these 3 for this series here. This is the one that I'm continuing to release at least probably 2 at this point, a year for it. This one I just released in November of last year, and then this one I released in December of last year, and she a thick girl. So this is the series that unlocked everything for me, and this is the series that means the absolute world to me for unlocking it, basically.
So this is why I want you to share your books, because she said this is a thick girl. Y'all see how thick those books are?
This one was 630 pages before formatting, and I just wrote my largest book at 663 pages, and it's a standalone novel, which is also a new venture for me, but yeah.
Listen, the creativity, this is what I mean. So like you're looking at the books, and she is saying this is the 6th book I published this year. As she mentioned, there's way more that she's going to publish. Just the fact that she's able to produce these books at a rate that they are like 600 and something pages.
I can't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I wrote that many. Like, I have moments too where I look at it and I'm like, dang, I did that, you know, like psyching myself out and stuff.
Yeah. And see, this is the beauty of it. Like, I'm stopping here was the initial conversation. And then she's saying to you, listen, for all those in the back, listen, she's saying to you, she has allowed her creativity to take over to the point where she astounds herself.
Yeah, sometimes I cry about it. I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I wrote that. I look at all the works I've done together, and I'm just like, where you didn't think about this 5 years ago that you would have written
Mm,
this much, you would have published this much, and it's just kind of astounding.
hmm But I want to know, and I want the readers to understand you more. What drives you to write, and where do you find the motivation to keep creating? And even when things are like tough, how do you do it?
So I think one of the best examples is my Frost the Face series. This was all it was originally going to be, was these 2 books. And now
Mm,
I've written 6 books total for this series. And I would say my inspiration mostly comes from my husband. He pushes me to
mm,
write. He tells me that I can do it. For that series, I was like, man, I love this series. I can't believe it's gonna be 2. Like, it just feels perfect. And he was like, no, you're gonna do more. I bet you can do more. That kind of taunting, playful tease about it. And my stubbornness was like, all right, bet, let's go. And it did, and I ended up writing so much more. So if I find myself stuck in a place, if he's able to come in and help me and kind of get my mind juices working and all of that, I love bouncing ideas back and forth with him. I've got an amazing book team as well that I go through and talk ideas out with, kind of ask their opinions on if they think ideas are good or not, if they think a plot is worth exploring, diving into side character and all that. Or my most common tactic is, if I'm just not feeling that push of writing, I'll go back into my previous works and start rereading and
mm.
editing in order to help me, like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go off of that. Let's build off of that. So like, if I've got 2 books out of a 3-book series done, I'll read the first one and the second one, edit them. And usually that'll get me jump started on the third.
Oh, I think it's amazing to say, hey, I go back to the work and do X, Y, and Z. And my husband is a creative inspiration to kind of push me. But also, I know for you, you've written some of those 400, 500, 600 pages book in like weeks or days. Like, how do you mass produce that way? Like, talk to
One,
us about that.
yeah, this book here was a 4-day journey. I wrote this in 4 days, and I even put the dedication as that because sometimes I kind of fall back into, talking about those mental health issues and all of that. I fall back into the
Mm,
whole, I'm not going to be able to do things again. What if I never write again and all of that? And so it was really important for me for this dedication for the book I wrote within 4 days to be, don't forget what you've accomplished in so little time. Sometimes all it takes is 4 days to create a masterpiece. And
mm,
it really is. I'll just get bursts. I get these weird bursts, and it's annoying because I can't sleep. And so I pulled an
mm,
all-nighter for most of that book, and I read it within 4 days, and it's actually my favorite book I've ever written. Like,
mm,
it is. And then this one I wrote within a week, and this is probably one of the best things I've ever written. It's little bursts of energy that I'll have to kind of give into. My little mind demons working and be like, you got stuff to write, go, go, go. And so it's
yes.
listen to that, and I just sit down and write. I've got no interruptions. My husband will bring me water, sometimes food, if I'm just kind of like locking myself in my office writing and all of that.
Mm. I love that you are able to say, like there's moments, right? When I
Mhm.
get stuck in my mental health where I don't feel like doing this. Like I don't feel like pushing forth this. I don't feel like it. Let's just be honest sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's like, and for you to say, but, so the big old but in the middle, to say, but in those moments, right? The creativity almost outweighs those things, the mental health issues, and you lock in. And I would have to assume, and you could just let me know if this is correct, that you create this space, like looking at your surrounding and all that stuff, just create this space where you become hyper focused and then you begin to
yeah.
mass produce.
I turned we got a 3rd bedroom in our apartment, and it's my office. Like, I've made it into my writing space. I've got all of my inspiration around me, my favorite book posters too. I have up on the walls on the other sides to help me look at them and spark the juices going and all of that. But mental health is a topic that's not really talked about often in fantasy books,
Mhm.
unless they're very well written fantasy books like Sarah J. Maas's works. And for me, it was really important to portray that my female characters, even my male ones, have mental health issues and the journeys of going through them, of healing and allowing themselves that time, because it's such a huge issue that's finally being talked about in these days and ages. And I want my characters to be relatable. I want them to go through issues that are, normal for real life people, even if they're fantasy books. And so it's really important to me that my characters have mental illnesses, that they're talked about, and it shows them going through them all.
So this is what I love. I mean, not because I'm a therapist, but because, because it's a space for you to create realness in the fantasy world, right? Where you're able to really connect your cares and have relatability. Because that sounds like it wasn't even untapped to have the fantasy world where the mental health was addressed. I love that you use like your own issues with dealing with mental health almost to help other people identify and resolve their own. Because I know, let's be honest, there's so many people who are interested in the fantasy world, just like you, they use it to escape, right? Like the big Harry Potters and stuff. Go ahead.
Well, and like for me, growing up and reading and disappearing into these worlds is what helped my mental health from going detrimental, basically. And so when I had, this fantasy assassin that I was obsessed with growing up with that saved me, I was like, ooh, she's awesome. I want to be more confident like her. I want to be more sure of myself like her. In one of my absolute favorite book series, there's a line that I think just portrays it so well, and it's only you get to decide what breaks you. And that's my back tattoo. I got my back tattoo from that series because I love that line. And it reminds me every day that I'm the one that's in charge of what can break me, you
This is
know?
good.
And that's why I love these fantasy books. And that's what I wanted to do for other people is I wanted to reach out and basically, tug them in with my books, give them a hug with my words and show them that it's okay. Even the badass female warriors go through blue days,
Mm. Now, if you didn't listen, I know I have this collection plate, this fake collection plate as a part of this. So listen, if you did not catch this, you were not paying attention to what she was saying. She to me, it's like you're going through this and you're giving to the world from your gift, right? From a space that was a deficit from you. You chose to decide to use this deficit to help other people. And I would have to assume that it's also a healing process for you too.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I've grown emotionally connected to these characters in the Frosted Face series. I feel like they're my children, basically. And I've created them, but I I've put a lot of my heart and soul into these books, especially the Frosted Face series, and it's just such a healing process for me writing them out, seeing these characters heal and develop and get those happy ever afters that they work so hard for.
Mm. Listen, the happy ever afters don't come until you
Don't do
do
the
the
work.
work. Yes. Okay. We need to really, okay.
I
That
think
just gave me chills.
I think it was best said in The Princess and the Frog, wishing on a star is only going to get you halfway there, You gotta put in the rest of the work. And I love that line because that's so true. You can't just wish for something, pray for something. You have to go ahead and put in the effort for it to see any kind of purchase come back.
Y'all, listen, I need to make sure we're going to get her contact information after. We're going to drop it in the description for YouTube. So make sure you follow her, comment, all that stuff. Because listen, this young lady, I just love that she's like young and this really giving her gifts. But she is like really dropping jewels, the places that we are missing it. Some of us are just missing it in our own life. And she's speaking from a fantasy perspective where it's just like we're not really doing the things that we need to do. We're waiting for this magical wand to come, and do the work. And then we're like, yes, I did it. But at the end of it, you are going to have to do the work. She's doing a great job. I believe in purpose. This is what Empowerment TV is all about, right? She is doing an amazing job just being 23. And I can't even imagine. I told you I think she's going to be like Harry Potter and all that stuff. So any Harry Potter directors that's listening to this, I need y'all to connect with her, okay? Because her vision is so vast to me that I literally see her making movies on HBO. We're going to put that in the atmosphere. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for you 5 years from now, where your creativity was going to take you.
My goal, and I've continuously told my husband and my best friend that by 2028, I want to have 20 books published. So, and that's my goal with 6 right now. It'll be 10 by the end of this year. And I think that's a very doable goal. If I'm doing 2 to 3 books a year, I'm excited for it.
Yes. But what inspires me, I know I keep emphasizing, but what inspires me is despite the things that you've been through, I know that there's a lot of things family-wise and all that stuff. Despite all of that, I feel like you're so focused, right? That you're so super focused at your end goal, your purpose, and everything that's on the inside of you, that is like, not that none of that stuff mattered, but it almost groomed you to do the things that you're doing now?
It's definitely a huge part of it. I talk all the time to my husband, and I'm like, I wonder if I hadn't gone through the things that I did growing up, if I'd be where I was today. I mean, if I'm following, the spider web of trails and all of that, okay, my dad used to read to me every single night. He inspired me to write. Because of that, I liked English class and I had an amazing teacher that told me I was a good writer. From that, I joined a creative writing class in college and I wrote a short story that people were like, hey, I want to know more about this. That's what inspired me to start writing. And during COVID, during the probably most depressing time of my life, I wrote my very first book and then the sequel for it. And that's what made me want to become an author. So it's all about the spider web of stuff that
Mm.
follows to get me to where I'm at, and the dominoes are falling into place and they start making big results in the end.
Well, I got chills. I don't know about y'all. Like, I literally have chills in my body. I'm super excited because to me, what it's representing is, despite these rough times, which we all will have them, overcoming mental health issues, overcoming trauma. Trauma is a big one because when it comes to traumas, I feel like they can really keep us just down, just stopping our purpose and things like that. Despite having to deal with those things, it doesn't stop your creativity. That's a beautiful thing to me. You could have easily said, you know what, woe it's me. Oh my God, I'm about to roll over. Forget everybody. I'm depressed. That could have been your story. But you took everything that you went through, like you said, those breadcrumbs along the way. And instead, you use those breadcrumbs to help with your creativity. And I just love that.
It's kind of like, it's like pressure on coal. You can either let it break you or you can
Mhm.
let that harden and turn you into a diamond. I'm not going to say it was easy because it was hard. There were so many times where I wanted to give up. There were so many times I did give up until I finally was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You can publish a book and no one buys it, but then you have that accomplishment under your belt and you've published a book and you succeeded at one of your goals for your life. Even if it doesn't come to fruition, it's still something that you would have been proud of yourself for doing. And that's what I did. I was like, all right, get up, Ella, let's go. Let's do something with this. And I did. And now I'm so happy that I did do something about it.
Well,
I'd
we're
rather
all happy too. Go ahead, Ella.
I'd rather regret the things that like I didn't do versus the things
Mm.
that I did do.
Y'all, this is just if you are not motivated, if you are missing any motivation in your life, this is where you need to pull and grab from, because it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that those things, like the things that she went through, I'm not saying we have to like put them to the side and say, forget it. What I'm saying is she's learning how to deal with those things and use them as a part of her purpose. She had the option, right, to stop, to say, forget it. I'm facing hard times. I don't want to do this anymore. She had the option to quit, but she didn't. This is the beauty of this story. If y'all don't follow her, not playing, but you do need to follow her. We're gonna give you more because I just really, I'm telling you, in the hearts of my heart, I really believe she is going to change the world, like through her writing. So y'all need to stay connected. My next question is: many creative people struggle with inspiration. And we kind of talk about this with their books. They get writer blocks and things like that. And so all my people who are wannabe writer, aspiring writers, when it comes to you, when you hit those creative walls, what techniques or mindset do you use to help break through those?
If I've gone through and reread my works already and I'm just still not feeling the click, I'll kind of just take a step away and I'll return to my favorite authors and kind of reread
Mm.
my favorites and classics, or pick up even a new book that's on my to be read list. And I'll just kind of clear my mind out. Basically, just, do a good inner scrubbing of my stuff and start reading other people's stuff to kind of be like, it's okay to have breaks every now and then. It's okay to have used all your creative juices up. And so I'll go through and I'll just read other people's books. I'll just step away from the computer a little bit. And sometimes that really is all you need, is just to take a break, and come back to it with a different perspective at a different time.
Mm. I like that you were able to say, I pick up other people's books
Mm-hmm.
and do other things. Because a lot of times I feel like some people who are writing, they're like, I'm just gonna focus on me, like I don't want to read nobody's books. I don't want to like get their ideas. But for you, it's a way to kind of gain motivation. Like, it's okay to read other people's books to maybe get some kind of motivation or more ideas from that.
Well, like one of my book team members is also an author who writes amazing poetry, and so in that time she'll send stuff my way, and I'll be like a beta reader for her, and I'll go through and I'll help her with her stuff, and then she'll toss a few ideas my way that make me go, oh, that's actually a great idea. Sparks my creativity again, you know? So it's really great to start like looking at other people too around you that are, you know, also struggling for help and turning your attention towards that and helping them, because I feel like it's a kind of a return process, you know?
Hmm. And I also like that you have a team,
Yes.
right? That you have a team of people to help you. Talk to me about how that's been beneficial for you.
So I have an amazing team of about 13 people that are absolutely fantastic. I've kind of just developed them over the years. A lot of them too, I joined some Facebook groups for women writers and all of that, or like Ohio Book Dragons, and I found them through there by promoting my things, like and asking for beta readers, alpha readers, editors, formatters, and all that stuff. And so over the last 2 years is really when it truly blossomed. I've got this fantastic team that I can be like, hey guys, what do you think about this idea? And I'll get instant responses. Sometimes I'll come up with a better idea for me. Sometimes I'll be like, that feels a little fan fiction versus a book. Like, I don't know what I would do without my team. I've got an incredible editor on there who puts up with me and my various spelling errors. I swear I think my Google Docs has given up on me autocorrect wise. It's like I'm not even trying anymore. So I feel so bad because she comes across so many spelling errors that I just don't see anymore. She saves my life at that. I've got an incredible alpha reader who gets through my books within a week, which is amazing because she's so fast with them. And then I go through chapter after chapter and talk about what they liked, what they didn't like. They find so many plot holes too sometimes that I never even saw because of how often I'm combing over these, how many different books I'm working on at the times. And so they truly helped me take this, you know, rough-hewn manuscript and help turn it into a perfect polished book. I could not be where I am today without my amazing book team.
So listen, listen, if you are aspiring writer, actually, if you are aspiring new or seasoned author, get you a team. I love when you talk about editing because when we're editing our own work, we don't see,
I
you
don't. It's
know,
so insane how many things I miss over. I'm like, how did I not see that? And my editor's like,
yes.
I don't know how you didn't see that. It was blaringly red to me. And I'm just like, dang it.
And I think it's lovely. So a lot of people who are self-publishing, they skip the step of hiring an editor or getting somebody to look at their book because they're like, oh, I got this, or I read through it. And this is a major issue with people who self-publish because I know for me, when I read my stories, it sounds so brilliant in my mind, right?
Yeah,
But
I mean,
then, go ahead, Ella.
well, with Frost, when I first published Frost, I didn't have an editor. And I mean, it's a perfect example of why you should have an editor because the amount, I swear my formatter wants to kill me for the amount of times I've had to reformat it because I found errors and I kept continuously going back and editing through it even after it was published. And so that was kind of the wake up call I needed as a self-published author to be like, all right, get yourself an editor. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yes, and that's a good thing. So please don't try to do this on your own. You
Yeah.
could be like I am a person who, reading, I do audible books, right? So even if you're a great reader or a great writer, you need to afford, like if you don't do anything in the self-publishing world, get you an editor. Because that is going to make or break your book. So I appreciate you sharing with us how you stay connected to your work and then how you're able to use the support of your team to help you. And I think that's something that self-publishing authors miss. Not that we're doing a whole series on self-publishing, but I think a lot of people miss that. It's just that team that just helps push you through. So you're operating like you're a publishing company, which I know that you're like, so the way you have your team set up, it's like you're operating just like you're your own publishing company, like you're like a major publishing company. And I think that's a great idea.
They sometimes too, I'll be like, what did you guys think of this scene? And they'll be like, I think you need to add a chapter in between these two scenes. And that's another part of pushing my creativity. They'll be like, yeah, something maybe about this line, expand on this. And it ends up adding 2 more chapters to the book, you know, because they're absolutely right. And I'm like, how did I not see that when writing? So my team is very beneficial and solely the reason too that the Frost the Fae series has 6 books now, because I wrote 5 of them and it was a perfect ending. And then they're like, no, we need some more. So I think you should get on your computer and write another one. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And then I gave them a 306-page novel. And so it's dedicated to my book team for everything that they've done for me because it's because of them basically saying you need to write another one for the series.
Listen, like we can do a wholesale publishing class right now. Like this is just like a lot of information for you who's listening to say, oh, okay, this is what I need to do to help self-publishing. Because it's not just, listen, you just, clacking on your computer is just the beginning of it. There's so many intricate parts to
So
it. So
much
I'm so
stuff.
glad. Yes.
I
It's
I would have been
tedious.
lost if I hadn't like gotten help from you at the very first, because yeah, I didn't know about the ISBNs, the Library of Congress, the copywriting, like formatting a
Yeah.
manuscript, like so many steps. Yeah.
It's so many steps, but it is doable, which is why she's already published 6 books and she said 10 this year is her goal. So I'm very proud of you. So let's talk about you could have had circumstances define you, but instead you defined your own future, kind of like we talked about. What advice would you give to other young people, in older people, any people, I know, like anybody striving for big dreams despite their current circumstances? What's your advice?
We were talking about you have to work for it, and I think for a fantasy, this is the perfect thing to say. Stop hoping for the wand and pick up the sword. You know, you gotta put in the work for it, and it sucks sometimes. It's really hard, and there are moments where you're gonna feel downtrodden, and there are moments that you're going to give into the blues because you feel like you're not going to be able to make it. But you have to just push past that. You have to go ahead and put in the work, want it hard enough to make it work, and also find yourself amazing people to surround yourself with so that you can have that constant support, maybe a little bit of nagging, hey, go get that chapter done, but that you can end up succeeding in the goals you want, because you can't achieve your goals if you don't try.
Mm. That is so much music in my ears, and I feel I know that a lot of people have big goals. I think that is something that's placed inside of us to like want to have these big dreams and goals. I think that now I am not a statistical person, and this is not evidence-based or research-based. This is just going off my own word. I have seen some research about like 89% of the people who work a job are not happy. And if 89% of people who work a job are not happy, why?
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of them aren't. And again, I know everybody are not entrepreneurs. I understand that. But if 89% of those people, let's just say 10% of them really decided to follow their dreams, where would they be?
And better jobs.
In better jobs, or entrepreneurs, or doing the things that is purposeful to them. So listen, this young lady, don't ever feel like you can't learn from someone, no matter what their age is. When I tell you she just gave you a whole course on how she was able to achieve the unthinkable despite her circumstances, you don't have an excuse. So don't even use it. Okay. So here's where we are, right? So what is next for you? I know, where do you see yourself? And I kind of talked about me seeing you 5 years from now, but where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And then do you have plans for more novels, screenplays, and creative projects?
I've got coming May 17th, I'm publishing 2 books. I've got 2 more past that planned for the end of the year, like I said, to hit 10 books. I have a book release schedule planned all the way up until 2026. And so my biggest thing is just to focus on that, on cleaning and polishing these manuscripts to make them as good as I possibly can. Trying to branch out too into different genres. Like I usually just stick with dark fantasy romance, but I have a contemporary romance in the works. I've got a vampire one in the works. I have a children's book in the works, which is quite cute. I've got some poetry books in the works as well to express all about that mental illnesses, and feeling like an outsider in your own family sometimes. So I'm learning to expand my creative mediums in order to help me kind of test the waters. I would absolutely love for my stuff to be turned into a screenplay at some point. HBO.
Yes.
Game of Thrones level productions. But I also know that that's going to be a while off. My favorite author, it took her 10 years before she got picked up by a publishing company, and now she's sold millions, billions probably. She just released a new book that I think sold 3.3 million copies, and it just got released. And she is one of my biggest inspirations, a publishing fiend out in this world of dominating women. And I look up to her because that's my star to wish upon, you know, is that kind of a goal. And here I am, not picking up a sword, but picking up a pen and going for it.
But here's the beauty of what you're doing. You're looking at other people like motivation, even like reading other people's work when you feel like you're stuck creatively. So you're able to like, not, oh man, she done wrote another book, you know? That's easy to do, but you're looking at it like it's motivation for you.
It is.
Talk
It's
to us about that.
inspiration. I mean,
Mhm.
she wrote her first book, Throne of Glass, I think around the age 16. And for
Mm.
several years, she got different iterations of it done, sending it out and all of that. And it didn't start getting popular. I think she published, or I think she wrote it in 2014, I want to say. But no, that doesn't, she's way older than me. But anyways, it took her 10 years for that book to gain popularity at all, you know? And if she can go ahead and do it, and now it's one of the biggest, it's 8 books, they're all massive, it's a fantastic series. Actually, I've got a couple of her, most of her books on my shelves because she's my favorite author, and she's just such a huge inspiration to me. And it's really important to have those icons that you're looking towards because you can wish on the star a little bit too, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important to keep that like in the forefront, right? To say, if she can do it, I can do it too. Like her momentum, her story, you know, taking her 10 years is not stopping her. Like for you to, I think you're like a mass producer, because you're very creative. For you to produce massively, because here's where a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people think that if they produce something, you know, they get the results tomorrow, right?
And that's
They're
not
not.
accurate.
It's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm be honest, I used to be guilty of that, where it's like, oh, I'm doing this, okay, magically appear. So what I love about you is, you know, you're still producing it, and I know it's growing. Like where you were 4 years ago is not where you are today.
No, it's incredibly different. Like,
That's the beauty of it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, when I first published my first book, I was very adamant on the fact that I was not going to write another book. You were like, yeah, okay, we'll see about that. And you were right on it. But now with 6 books published, I'm seeing over a book sale a day. And it's all about
Mm.
that growing because, okay, 4 years ago, it wasn't even a book sale a month, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's I sold by the 1 year anniversary of Frost, I sold 100 copies of that book, and that's a small number, but you have to celebrate the smaller victories sometimes. Like 100 people have my book, you know? So it's
Yes.
all about stuff like that. You gotta just work at it. It's time. It's
Yes.
soul sucking, but it's life. Life is soul sucking sometimes, you know?
It is, or it can be, but the beauty with you is you didn't allow it to suck you. Does that make sense? You didn't allow life to just say, "Oh, let me just defeat you," and you roll over and give me everything. You allow yourself to keep producing.
I I want my books to be something a girl picks up and saves her, you know? Sarah J.
Mhm.
Maas saved me with her A Court of Thorns and Rose series. I want to do that for somebody else. That's my goal.
Mhm.
That's one of the biggest motivators for me to write is the fact that someone who is in a similar place mindset than I was at that age is going to be like, this book changed my world. It made me want to live. It made me want to fight, to stand up for what I believe in. And that's kind of the mindset I keep up here and what keeps me writing, you know? My books could save someone someday.
Listen, for those of you who don't think reading is fundamental, I know we hear that a lot when we're in school. It is. There's a lot of books that we've all read that did something to our mindset that changed our lives. And I love the fact that you're able to pay it forward and say, hey, I identify this. This is what helped save me from this world of trauma, from this world of loneliness and mental health issues was this. This very thing that saved me is a gift that I want to give to the world, and I'm going to do it wholeheartedly, like nonstop. And I just love just how the creativity juices flow. So if you guys can't take anything from this, I want you to understand it's like, to me, it's like, be your own shero. Start within yourself, right? To work on you so that you can get the results that you want. We can easily blame other people for where we are and what has happened in our life, but you didn't do that. So I love that you're saying that, like, yes, your husband is amazing with supporting you. We're not saying that you don't need support. We talked about her whole team. But if she didn't decide within herself to change herself, to want more or to want better, none of us would be here, right? So for you, what is the one thing that you want people to understand and know about your books? I know you said you're like the mental health, but if I picked up your book, what's the biggest result? What's the biggest thing you want me to get out of it?
You're going to get real life struggles and real life relationships, because one of the things that I really wanted was for my characters to connect with the reader. And I wanted you to be able to escape into those worlds in times of trauma and hardships. And so some of my own struggles have been put into these books word for word, so because then they feel real, that you feel immersed in it. You will feel the love between my characters because I've based them off the love in my own life, the support in my own life. They're not just, I don't want them to just be books. I want them to be mind changing, and I know that's such a high bar to set for myself, but I've already gotten those results back. I've had people get tattoos from my books because my books have meant so much to them, and that has changed my world. I've got someone cosplaying as my character, her and her friends. It's 3 different people that brought my book into a book group, and it changed their world. So they're cosplaying as my main character to a Comic-Con, and that I cried when I heard that, because I was like, this is what I want. This is my goal, was to change people, to influence and touch them enough that that character has now become such a fundamental part of them.
Yes. And I love it because to me, it's not just about, you are not making this about you. You have decided to help people. Hey, cat. Kitty cat. What's your cat's name? So we decide, we're always meeting, right? You have decided to use this as a gift to help others. And I think that's the beauty of it all. I am so appreciative of you coming and sitting with me. I mean,
Yeah,
just to get in your brain. I know it's been long overdue. So I really appreciate you. So now we're going to tell people where to find you. And we're going to also put this information in the description so that you can follow her, because it's important. I'm telling y'all, I want y'all to be like, oh, I know her. When HBO comes out with her series, I want y'all to be like, I know her. So you want to make sure you're following her. So give us the information where
I'm pulling up my app so I can get the correct information, because I've got different accounts that so my biggest platform right now is TikTok. I'm author ED Lee on there, and I post spoilers, cover reveals, little quotes, and all of that, as well as art on there. That's where I'm mostly posting. I do updates as well. And then my Instagram is Ella Diane Lee as well. And that's also where I try to publish a lot of stuff like quotes from my books that I think will help draw you in, and just stuff that inspires me. Like I post the maps ahead of time for the books and the cover reveals and all of that. I'll do polls on there as well to help with titles, because titles are hard. They're sometimes fun but challenging to do. So those are my 2 socials that I usually are on for my book stuff.
Yeah. So we'll give you the information in the link. Make sure you follow her, especially if you're looking for her. Like, I think she's going to blow up. I just really do. And not saying look for her to blow up, but I think her stories are very important to the person who is like maybe like trying to escape and needs some help dealing with some mental health issues. So that's what I love about the theme of it. So I'm so proud of you. Well, we have concluded another episode of Empowerment TV with Miss Ella D. Lee. You can also find her books under E.D. Lee. So go to Amazon, purchase her books today. You will be so impressed with her work, how she digs deep into her mind and the connections she makes, especially with her series. Do not sleep on Miss Ella. I mean, I know she's young, but she has provided so much wisdom today that if you're not listening and did not take notes, I'm not for sure what's wrong, right? Because you could take the information, especially if you're a self-publishing author, and start your journey today, okay? So thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So listen, I love it because she remains true. And this is what I'm about, in her authenticity, her power, and her purpose. And that is what we love about this show. She's showing up as herself. She doesn't care about what other people think, right? She's showing up
there, but I'm here now.
And that's the beauty of it, right? You may have started with that in mind, but as you begin to grow and do your thing, you became more confident in who you are. And that's what it's all about.
Took it from those fantasy characters. Like I said, I was listening to my younger self and being like, this is what you want to do. You can't really care what everyone thinks, and do what you want to do. Be the change in the world and go ahead and make those differences. I knew that I was meant to leave some kind of impact on the world, and it just turned out to be writing books.
Yes. She said she knew she was going to make some kind of impact. This is why you know it's important to walk in your purpose. So I am grateful. We're going to put all her information in. I need you to follow her, especially if you're like 20 something. You need to link up because it'll change your world. Just everything she said, it'll change your whole world and get you walking more in your purpose. A lot of young people, and I'm not trying to stereotype, a lot of young people sometimes have a challenge with their purpose, right? Matter of fact, a lot of older people have a challenge. Let's be honest. There's some people who struggle with their purpose who 40 and 50 years old. But the fact that she was able to identify that purpose at this age, this is why I know that when 5 years from now, she's going to be in such a different place because she followed her heart. And that is what the most important thing for you to do. Yes, you're going to feel the pressure of the naysayers or what people are going to think. But as you continue to take steps, you'll be crystal clear and focus on what you need to do. She could have easily given up from her background and mental health issues, but she didn't. So such an inspiration. So I know I keep saying that, but thank you. Please make sure you follow her. And then we want you to comment below and make sure you subscribe. So thank you for joining us on Empowerment TV, where we remain authentic, purposeful, and powerful. We'll see you next time.